The Vertex Tower was designed to be the tallest building in the world, a needle of glass piercing the clouds of New York. To the public, it was the masterpiece of Julian Thorne, the architect of the century. To Elias, who stood on a narrow steel beam 60 stories above the ground, it was a monument to a theft. 10 years ago, Elias and Julian were college roommates. Elias was the visionary, the one who spent nights sketching a revolutionary structural core that could allow buildings to sway with the wind like trees, making them indestructible. Julian was the talker, the salesman. One night, Julian disappeared with Elias's hard drive. A week later, Julian announced the Vertex Tower. Elias was left with nothing, no proof, no money, and a shattered reputation. Elias didn't sue. He didn't scream. He did something much more patient. He changed his name, put on a hard hat, and became an ironworker. He spent a decade working on the very buildings Julian designed. He knew every bolt, every weld, and every secret flaw in Julian's stolen work. "Move it, worker. We're behind schedule," Julian shouted from the safety of the observation deck, looking down at the men like ants. He didn't recognize Elias behind the reflective visor and the layer of concrete dust. Julian had become a billionaire, a celebrity architect, but he had a problem. The Vertex Tower was vibrating. The stolen design had a flaw that Julian didn't understand. At night, the building groaned. In high winds, the windows cracked. Julian was terrified that his masterpiece would become his tomb. Elias was the foreman of the sky. He was the only one who knew why the building was shaking. He had intentionally, subtly altered the tension in the secondary support cables over 3 years of construction. It was like a slow-acting poison in the building's veins. One evening, as a massive storm approached the city, Julian Thorne came down to the site office, desperate. He had seen the sensors hitting the red zone. "The core is shifting," Julian whispered to the site manager. "If the city finds out, the project is canceled. I'm bankrupt." Elias walked into the office, covered in grease and dust. He took off his helmet. For the first time in 10 years, Julian saw his face. "You?" Julian gasped, backing into a desk. "You're dead. I blacklisted you." "Buildings don't forget, Julian," Elias said, his voice as cold as the steel outside. "And neither do I. You stole my leaf structure design, but you didn't understand the physics. You thought it was just an aesthetic choice. It's a living system. And right now, your system is dying." Julian's arrogance flickered. "Fix it. I'll pay you millions. I'll give you a silent partnership. Just save the tower." Elias smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "I don't want your money, Julian. I've spent 10 years building your dream with my own hands. Every rivet I drove into this steel was a prayer for this moment." The storm hit at midnight. The winds reached 120 miles per hour. The Vertex Tower began to hum, a low, terrifying sound that vibrated through the bones of everyone inside. It was harmonic resonance. The building was shaking itself apart. Julian was trapped on the top floor, surrounded by investors and city officials for the Grand Preview Gala. The floor tilted. The champagne glasses shattered. Panic erupted. "Get Elias," Julian screamed into his radio. "He's the only one who knows the tension codes." Elias appeared on the giant security screens in the gala hall. He wasn't in the building. He was in the control center across the street. "Listen carefully, Julian." Elias's voice echoed through the speakers, calm and steady against the howling wind. "The building isn't falling. Not yet. I've locked the damper systems. The resonance will continue until the glass shatters and the steel warps, unless you tell the truth." "You're insane," Julian yelled. "You'll go to jail for this." "I'm an ironworker, Julian. I'm used to high stakes," Elias replied. "The cameras are rolling. The city officials are listening. Tell them who designed the Vertex core. Tell them about the hard drive 10 years ago. Or watch your legacy turn into a pile of scrap metal." The building swayed 4 feet to the left. A massive crack appeared in the marble floor of the ballroom. Julian looked at the terrified faces of the billionaires around him. He looked at the abyss outside the windows. "I stole it!" Julian screamed, collapsing to his knees. "Elias designed it. I just took the credit. I don't know how to fix it. Please, stop the vibration. Elias pressed a single button on his console. The hydraulic dampers hissed, and the building slowly stabilized. The humming stopped. The Vertex Tower was safe, but Julian Thorne was finished. The confession was recorded by every person in the room. By morning, Julian was under arrest for fraud, safety violations, and corporate theft. His empire crumbled faster than any building he had ever designed. The city seized the Vertex Tower, but they couldn't finish it. The design was too complex. They needed the original architect. A month later, Elias walked onto the site. He wasn't wearing a hard hat or a tool belt. He was wearing a tailored suit. He stood on the same 60-story beam where he had worked as a laborer. A young journalist approached him. "Mr. Elias, how does it feel to finally be the architect of the record for the world's tallest building?" Elias looked at his hands. The calluses were still there, the scars from the steel. He looked at the tower, now officially renamed the Phoenix Needle. "I didn't build this to be the tallest," Elias said, looking out over the city. "I built it to be the strongest." Julian thought architecture was about the silhouette in the sky. He was wrong. Architecture is about the foundation in the ground. If your foundation is a lie, the wind will always find you. Elias turned and walked into his new office at the top of the tower. He had spent 10 years as a ghost in the machine, a shadow in the steel. Now he was the master of the skyline. And as he looked down at the street below, he realized that the best part of the view wasn't the height. It was the fact that he had reached it with clean hands and an honest heart. The vertex was his. The sky was his. And the truth, finally, was set in stone.